What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to share the 3 biggest mistakes that I see businesses that already have traction making with their email marketing. Okay, so in the title of this video, I say it's called the 3 biggest email marketing mistakes that 7-figure businesses make. Really, I would say this applies to any business that has, I'd say probably like, if you're at about $500,000 a year and up. But I just see this most commonly with businesses around that $500,000 to 2 to 3 million a year range of revenue. A lot of times once they get beyond that, either they've figured it out, or someone has on the team, or a consultant, or someone has, gotten it through their heads they need to be doing email marketing better. But I see this all the time where businesses have traction. And again, maybe your business is smaller, maybe you're not quite at that revenue level yet. And this could still apply to you. But there's a lot of businesses where they have a lot of traction and they're successful despite the fact that they're not really doing everything as well as they could. And email marketing is one of those channels where just too many businesses are missing out on extra revenue by making some of the most common mistakes. So the first one is, and might surprise people, is that not sending enough emails. So a lot of times businesses, they get into this habit where maybe they send a monthly email, maybe they send a weekly or a bi-weekly email, and they continue to grow, and they're doing, they're whatever else they're doing for marketing and sales. They're having success and very likely even having a lot of success with their email. In fact, that's something I see all the time, is businesses having success with email and doing very little email marketing. And it's just crazy because I see all this untapped potential and it's like they have no idea it's even there. But yeah, a lot of times they're just not sending near as many emails as they could, because by the time you get to about $500,000 to $1 million a year in revenue, you probably have a good sized list. You know what your average order value is. You have a pretty good grasp on a lot of the metrics as far as how you gauge your marketing and sales performance. And you have a big enough list to where you can start doing segmentation and you can start sending out more campaigns without sending every email to everyone on your list. So it doesn't mean you need to be sending an email every single day, but it does mean you could definitely be sending, at least 2-3 emails per week, every week. But just making sure that you're targeting different segments every time you send those emails, or at least the majority of the times. That way, not everyone on your list is getting every email, but the emails they do get are targeted towards them, which makes them more interesting and makes them more likely to drive sales. But then also, every time you send an email, assuming that, again, you have a warm list of people that you've nurtured and that they like your brand, they enjoy your products and all of that, you're going to generate sales every time you send an email. So more emails sent just means more revenue generated for your business. So the challenge is really, okay, how can I send more emails and do it in a way where I don't piss off everyone and I don't, end up doing more harm than good to my list? And that's where, again, one of the most common themes in my content is just talking about segmentation and then being creative with the angles for the emails so that it caters to the segment you're sending to. So then mistake number 2 is not optimizing core flows. So at this point in your business, you likely have all of the core flows, your welcome series, your post-purchase, all of your abandoned checkout and browse abandoned. You have all those flows. You probably have, customer win back and sunset unengaged. And you have your most profitable flows, and a lot of those flows that might be considered more of a nice to have for a startup. But what I find is that business owners, especially when it comes to their flows, is that the performance of those emails on average tends to be a little better than your campaigns. So you think, oh, it's already doing well, I don't really need to make any changes, and you don't realize how much more revenue you're missing out on by not optimizing your flows. So part of that just means doing some A/B testing on your flows, testing subject lines and all of that. But really what I'm talking about here is, because hopefully, at that point you're already doing some level of that, but I'm also talking about adding in more flows. So a lot of times, you might only have like 5 or 6 flows, and you could easily have 10 or 15 flows that are customized to your brand, your customers, your products, built out for different functions, whether it's, it's not always going to be sales. It could be things based around your loyalty program, based around referral programs, generating reviews, getting user-generated content. There's a lot of things you can do that really help with your overall marketing and sales, where it's not always, the intention isn't always to drive a ton of sales from each email. So that's where more flows come into play. There's likely a lot of flows that you're missing out on that you don't have in place. But then also extending some of your core flows that are performing really well. So for example, like your welcome series, and maybe different upsell or cross-selling flows that you have set up post-purchase where your current emails could be performing so well. And again, this is often the case, especially for businesses that have a lot of traffic, where let's say you've got 4 emails in your welcome series, but that last email is still generating a ton of sales. It still has great engagement, and you could actually add an additional 2, 3, 4 more emails to that flow and keep getting more sales from those additional emails. So that's one thing. It's just extending some of these flows that are really profitable and that are performing really well, but then also customizing flows based around your hero products. So if you have, 2 or 3 products that are generating, let's say collectively 80% of your revenue, it would make sense to start customizing some of these flows like your browse abandonment, abandoned checkout, and post-purchase specifically for those products. So that way people are getting a more personalized experience, and you're providing, whatever the touch point is as far as when that email goes out, which flow it's in, the information is in detail and is very explicitly about that particular product, right? As opposed to having a dynamic block that fills in the product, and then you speak more generally about your brand, hoping that the copy applies to all your products in general. You can speak more specifically to the exact questions, concerns, sales objections, frequently asked questions, all of that kind of stuff, setting expectations for the experience whenever they receive the product. And you can add all that to the flows, which is going to increase the performance of your flows, but it's also going to create a customer experience that stands out from the crowd, because all of these emails are catered or speaking specifically about the product that they are interested in or that they've purchased, which makes it way more likely that they're going to buy from those emails. But again, it's just like not very many brands take the time to do that level of customization. So people just aren't used to getting emails that well crafted. And again, so it's just a better customer experience, and they're more likely to buy. And another thing you could do is even crafting these flows or editing them in ways where people get a different experience based on what type of customer they are. So whether they're a lead or a one-time customer or a repeat customer, they're getting different versions of the emails in these flows that speaks more specifically to where they're at, which is great because you want to continually reinforce the fact that they are, if we're talking about repeat customers, you want to reinforce the fact that they are a repeat buyer, and you want to show them extra love for being a repeat buyer. And on the other end of the spectrum, if they've never purchased before, then you want to craft the message in a way where you have to do a little bit more selling with them. You have to do a little bit more convincing of your brand and of your products, because they're not convinced enough yet to have made a purchase yet. So that's where, again, just tweaking these flows. And at this point, this level of revenue and the traction you have, it makes sense to do this extra work to customize these flows, because again, you have enough people on your list, you have enough lead flow from the traffic you're generating, that all of these emails are going to be getting sent out to people. So it's not like you do all this work and it only goes out to 5 people, or else it wouldn't be worthwhile. So again, you get to this point where these little details matter, and they can make a huge difference, because small percentage improvements in performance can mean thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in revenue added just from just making small changes. And again, we're talking about the automated emails here. Okay, then finally, the third thing, one of the biggest mistakes I see with businesses that already have traction, is that they don't have a dedicated email team, meaning that they either don't have a dedicated person or team in-house, or they don't have someone, either it's a freelancer or an agency that they've hired. They don't have someone whose core responsibility is email marketing. And usually what happens is they have some kind of digital marketing manager who's managing all of their digital marketing. So doing all of their ads, social media content, creating the content, scheduling it, doing their email marketing, SMS, and then no telling what else. So dealing with influencers, doing blog content. It's going to be different from brand to brand. But a lot of times when you have all of that, when you have one person or maybe a small team managing all of those things, I find that email tends to go lower on the priority list as far as how much time, effort, energy they put into it, which is crazy, because it tends to be, of those things I just mentioned, it tends to be the one that's driving the most sales, or at least has the